an appointment you have to go to.
Right,
Okay,
right.
hard stop. So what is going on now? What do we need to look at now?
So I'm still kind of asking about my love life. So, my husband and I are like coming to an end and just want to see about like there is another guy that kind of entered the picture, and so I just want to see.
You've entered the chat. Okay.
Yeah, so I want to see about that. I won't say red flags, but there's some like things that I'm like, I don't know. So I'm a little worried, but
Yeah, you're just trying to discern if is that like ego or is that like, is this a real thing I need to look out for?
right, right. I have my own feelings about it. Like I think he's a really good guy and things are really good, but I think he's been hurt in the past and it's kind of like infringing on this. So,
Yeah.
but we're still early on too, so it's kind of like I don't know how invested to get.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. So what's this new guy's name?
Ben.
Ben.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Let's see where things are going. I'm just pulling some oracle cards for you right now. Oop. All right. Ooh, got a lot of flyers, so that means you're doing your own work, which is good. Okay, so first of all, let's look backward to kind of go forward here. All right, so you're pulling the Seven of Cups in reverse. First of all, as far as like relationships go, that kind of talks about like the Seven of Cups. Anytime we see cups, we see our water element and our emotions, and that is like we're doing too much. Seven of Cups, we're juggling too much. Maybe we're not voicing, where our boundaries need to be put in, where we need help, where we need assistance. Especially in the reverse position, you're kind of like your own worst enemy here. Like you gotta really, really go in and be like, this is what I need help with. This is what I need to focus on. Can XYZ help me? And if it's a no, if you're looking at a relationship reading, then that's not the person for you. Um, as far as any like future relationships, I would say always we don't really look at flowery promises. We pay attention to action, who shows up, how they show up, what they do, when they are showing up. If you're feeling like it's kind of like half-ass and they're just doing it to do it, then that's a problem. So your next card is the Four of Cups, and that's literally talks about you needing to ask for help. So, are you finding yourselves in situations with this guy where you're like, could use an extra pair of hands? This would be easier with maybe another person, another adult.
Um, with the new guy, like I don't know, like I don't really expect that right now because it is like super new. But like I'm having so my issue is like when we're together, it's super, super great. And then
Yeah.
it's like when we're not, sometimes the communication isn't as good. And so like I start feeling bad about things. But then I don't know. So like is this geared towards the new guy
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's where you need to start asking for help. You need to start sharing your feelings. Otherwise, what that is going to do is that's going to like build.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, "Well, are you paying attention to me as much as I'm paying attention to you? Like how is this going to work with
Yeah.
you?" And we don't want to get there. So I think this is your moment where like whenever it says accept help, ask for help, like you have to kind of be like, okay. Because remember, the Four of Cups is a water card. That's our emotions card. Like, really, what you're asking for is like a little bit of validation.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes a little bit of validation goes a really long way. Unfortunately, if you're like, well, I don't really expect that, it's so new, you're literally keeping him from being able to validate you because he doesn't know. Unless you're like, hey, I've been thinking about you, or, I miss you, or ha ha ha, look at this meme, it's so funny, and you're getting radio silence, that's a different story, But I would look at it as like now is the time to get a little bit more vulnerable because, you didn't ask for help, you stood on too many responsibilities in the past, and then that kind of like bit you in the ass. Like here, you have to be more vocal to get what you want, because at the end of the day, everybody has free will. But if they don't kind of, shit or get off the pot, as I like to say, then you know that they're kind of like a lesson. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I know that's scary. We don't like to do that. Ew, yuck.
I mean, I'm like telling him that. Like, I kind of plan to the next time be like, look, it's like out of
Yeah.
sight, out of how I feel. Is that what's up? But
Yeah. And so I would definitely be firm on that. Make a date to be like, hey, let's get together and let's just have a talk or have a chat or whatever. Um, I definitely like they're saying like don't blindside him with it, like prepare him a little bit, lay the groundwork, because then he might like shut down a little bit, and you don't want that.
right, right.
So I would say, hey, I've been feeling some type of way. I'd really like, I'm better in person than I am over text. Text, I don't want you to feel like the wrong way about what I want to say, how I want to express myself. So let's make a coffee date. Like, make it super casual.
Okay.
So your next oracle cards with it is beauty. And so I would say bring things into the relationship that, you know, aesthetically pleasing to you, and also bring things that like make you happy, bring you joy. Like this is a time in the very, very beginning to be like your best self, your full self. A lot of times people are like, calm that down. Don't be, no, no. They need to see the whole package right
Hmm.
here. Exactly what they're getting. And that can be like, hey, I have this, people might think this god ugly picture is, terrible, but I really love it and this makes me happy. You need to look for how they respond about things like that. Like it's the little shit that get people in relationships. It really is. You've been around the way a little
Right.
bit. You
Hmm.
know. So that's why I say be your whole self, like right now.
Yeah, too.
Okay. So the next card is the Six of Pentacles, and that talks about like um the Pentacles are our Earth card and our grounding, our relationships, right? So, the Pentacles, whenever we see it in a relationship reading, it's really talking about being on the same page. And you might feel like you're like maybe not on the same page right now. You're probably like, Lexi, what the hell are you talking about? This is like a continuation to keep working, like keep staying open. It's gonna force you to kind of get out of your habit and like make a date to like speak face to face. It's really important that you do this in person whenever you're talking about your feelings or like lack of feeling heard. Instead of like over the phone, over text, you want them with you.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's going to pay off more in the long run. And the Six of Pentacles also talks about like the more you work at it, the more it's going to pay off. So I think this will go in your favor as long as you stay steady with it. Like he feels like somebody you have to have big talks with in person, almost like he likes to look you in the eye a little bit whenever he's talking to you.
That makes sense. Like I said, like when we're in person, it's like we click great, and then it's like when we're not, I don't know if it's insecurity on my part or his part or both parts, and like yeah, it's like the texting and stuff is minimal.
I feel like it's a little of both. And I feel like if you're like in a situation where you cannot be, in person, FaceTime, so you can see each other, so you can hear each other, so there's no miscommunication.
Okay.
Does that make sense? But
It does.
also, I think being in person would be the best thing for you. So your next cards are dreams and celebration. So I definitely think this is a good point for you to be at. Dreams talks about following your intuition, your gut feelings, your gut instincts. And I think that's going to be something that plays a bigger role, not just in romance, but in your everyday life. Like you might have like a little expansion in your intuition. I think everybody is psychic abilities, whatever. And that might start in dreams, but it might come in bigger waves. Like, ooh, I don't really agree with that. I need to voice my opinion on that because that is a feeling that I strongly feel. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So I would start paying attention where that's gonna like I think pop up in a lot of different areas in your life, not just in relationships. And celebration. I think this guy is gonna end up being a really good guy. Is he gonna be like the one you grow old with and forever with? That's completely up to you. But I think he's gonna be a really good guy. I think a lot of your own healing and your own work that you've been doing has paid off. It's almost like I see like the blinders come off and I can see and you have discernment and you're picking up the patterns that like he kind of laid down and you're seeing those things in other people. Maybe not romantic relationships, but you're starting to see it more
Hmm.
and more and more around you and how people act.
Yeah. It's
Somebody uses a very specific term, and I don't know if he was like this or not, but narcissistic behavior. You can see it better now in other people.
sure can. That was my husband right there.
It's like, oh,
Hmm.
I see that. I see it now. Yes, you're like that too. Okay. So, and I think that's going to develop more and more for you. Um, I don't know where you're wanting to go, but Fortune comes in and talks about all of your hard work is paid off. If you're doing any type of career moves or thinking about it, this is going to be a really good time to do it.
Yeah, I'm in school right now. I should graduate in December, so hopefully that's kind of where that is going.
It's going to be really, really good. I would go ahead and lay the groundwork for networking. You're going to need it. You're going to be really, really good. Um, but that's going to pay off really, really big for you very soon, very soon. Crossing my fingers. I can't wait to hear about, oh, I graduated. It
Yeah.
worked out. Are you
Oh,
planning on staying here?
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, the I guess the biggest other bad thing, like I worry about relationships, I guess when it's up in the air, but with my husband, like we're doing the legal stuff now, and the house is
hmm
kind of up in the air. Um, so I'm kind of wondering how that's gonna go. Also, if you have any insight to that.
Is he fighting you real hard on the house? Feel like
Um,
he's kind of being a little bit of a dick.
oh, he's definitely being a dick. But he's back and forth. Like his moods are up and down. So like one day I'm the greatest thing, I deserve it all, and the next day like I've taken everything from him. So it just depends on his mood. And it's
Yeah,
hard emotionally and to lock him into like legal signing stuff.
yeah, yeah. Um, so you're pulling the fool as far as the house is concerned. I would say be very, very careful with how you sign contracts. The fool talks about going into situations like really, really excited. Maybe you're excited to be divorced and you're like, I just want this shit to be done with, right? Which is great, but be careful in the language around that you get divorced in. Be careful with signing contracts. Be careful with signing those divorce papers. How did they benefit you? How did they benefit him? How does the kid? What happens with that? Right? So the fool talks about like really just small shit getting you is what gets you into like, oh shit, I didn't know. And then it just kind of like blows up in your face. So really, really be careful around that. As far as the house is concerned, you're pulling Two of Pentacles and Six of Swords in reverse. I don't think he's going to want to give up this house and he's going to fight you really hard. At the end of the day, he's going to watch you be more successful than him. Because somebody goes like this, like, oh, she's going to be making more money than him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be like, oh shit, I could have, and it's going to turn into money, 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 money. Because he's going to be like, oh, well, she can afford somewhere else to live now. She's fine. She doesn't need my house. She doesn't need this. That's my house. Mine, 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 mine. It's going to turn into one of those situations pretty quickly. So with the Two of Pentacles comes in, and the Pentacles are our earth element and our money element. So that means like we need to have balance in our budget. We need to have balance um, in our life, kind of watch our overspending if you're looking at it. And I would say don't go crazy with it, but I would say be on the lookout for another place to live if you have to. Have a plan B. Like,
Yeah. Contacted a realtor and things. I've been trying to look as well just to be prepared.
yeah. I would have a plan B because it's not looking like this is going to be an easy fight for you. And I feel like it's just going to be once you graduate. Is the divorce going to be done after that or
Hopefully it should be done. I mean, I can file for divorce in February, so February 7th. I can't imagine that he'll drag the separation out. Like, I don't guess the lawyers will let that go on that long, but
I would go ahead and file in February, but make sure you have everything in a row, every option in which he's like, I don't want to sign, yada yada. Make sure your bases are covered. That way you can have a clean break. Um, but I definitely don't think he's going to give up the house without a fight. But that's why I say it's going to be very, very important about the language that you use
Mhm.
with getting your divorce, filing for divorce, how you can divide your assets. Does that make sense? And a lawyer would know probably better wordage than I would. And but I definitely think he's going to fight you a little bit on it. So you're also pulling trust, and I think right now is going to be a really good time to work on any type of trust issues you might still have lingering.
Me, trust issues? No.
Any type of healing that you need to do, and also like having trust within yourself. Yeah, you picked a bad apple, but that's okay because that made you a better person. They're talking about being a better healer. You're going into medical, right?
Hmm. Yeah, psych stuff, actually.
Yeah, being just a better version of you. So if you hadn't had that, you probably wouldn't have this new chapter.
Yeah, it's true.
So it is all kind of a cycle, but you have to trust that the past version of you and this version of you are different people and can choose different paths. Um, so it's all going to be about intention and finding a different sanctuary. Sorry, you can't see that. Intention is basically if you kind of approach the ex about the house in a peaceful way, you might get it, but I feel like he's going to be like, this is my last nest egg, my last investment. It's going to be a deeper issue. Um, so I would just be prepared. You're also pulling sanctuary, and that card like talks a lot about finding a place that feels like home. So you might sign those divorce papers and be like, I don't really like this place anymore. This doesn't feel like it's for me anymore, and that's okay too. But I think you're going to be like kind of on a journey to find a different home.
All right. And then I also had, if you can maybe speak to like, um, my son has some issues with like suicidal ideations and things and like anger outbursts, and it's been kind of rough a little bit lately. That's actually the next appointment that we're going to be at. And then my daughter has expressed like some anxieties and like not feeling good at home anymore because of all the dynamics and things. So just want to ask about both of them.
Yeah. So she wants to, I hear automatically she's like, I want to go live with dad. Like she's trying to jump ship.
It wouldn't be dad, but yeah, she wants to be somewhere peaceful, I think.
Yeah. She's trying to jump ship. And for right now, I think that might be a little bit better for her because as far as your son's not pulling great cards. He definitely needs some therapy, I would say.
Hmm.
The first card is Eight of Swords. So swords is anything mental from the neck up, any bad things. This might be just hormonal, but it's definitely having whatever is happening in his own personal life is just wreaking havoc on his mental health. Um, Eight of Swords really is talking about feeling trapped, feeling like isolated, even within like maybe sometimes a room of people. He still feels very lonely.
Hmm.
And that can be really, really hard to fight against. because you're fighting him, fighting himself.
Hmm.
So the Eight of Swords is going to be him needing to take control. First, he has to admit that there's a problem. He has to admit that there's a problem. And secondly, the Eight of Swords. The best way you can kind of support that is maybe try and take a few things off of his plate. Whatever is triggering it, remove it. And I think maybe that's where therapy might help. The tower, I don't think his mental health issues are going to get better anytime soon. The tower just talks a lot about like things just kind of burning down, needing to go away, falling away in a moment where it's going to be really rough. I'm not going to lie. Like you need to strap in with him. Um And I don't know if this is just depression or maybe it's an imbalance. Maybe you need to look at diet. But he's just having a really hard time, and it's mostly him within him.
Is there any suggestion on like how to help? I mean, aside from therapy, obviously, and the doctors, like,
Yeah, so I would look at changing his diet. I would look at maybe even doing like approaching it from all angles, even a holistic approach. Maybe he needs like some Reiki done. Maybe he needs to, I'm also hearing some very interesting, like maybe he needs to be like at home for a bit. Like,
I mean, he's home all the time. He's 19 and at home. He doesn't really have that many responsibilities. Like, he hasn't finished school. He doesn't have a job. Like, he's starting to work on his GED. So, like, I'm seeing like a little bit of progress in there. But I mean, I don't, as far as taking responsibilities and things, there's really nothing because he doesn't really do them.
he doesn't do them. I mean, that's fine. Um, so I would definitely, so there's only so much you can do, unfortunately, because he is 19. I was gonna suggest a more whole body approach if he's open to it. Reiki, hitting the gym, going out. His problem is mostly himself. And
Hmm.
for whatever reason, he has self isolated. I don't know if this is because of a significant other or everything that is just happening between you and the husband. Did he not always used to be like this?
He's always had something like even when he was younger, it was like the ADHD and like ODD, and then like when he got in the younger teens, like started transitioning to depression type stuff. But my husband was hard on him, so I don't know if that caused like these traumas that made him so insecure and like self-loathing. But it's just yeah, I don't know how to get him out of it.
Yeah, yeah. So for that, um, it's definitely it's not going to get better right away. He's pulling Two of Cups, which means like he needs help. The Two of Cups is like our water element, and basically you're not going to get better without like a team collaborating. You can get better if he chooses to. A lot of this is going to be him choosing to get better. And you're in a really tough spot with this because you're at the point of parenthood where you can't just say, you're gonna have a better diet, you're gonna go exercise, you can't do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of this is gonna be him like you have to watch him be his own worst enemy. And that's gonna be really, really hard. And I am so sorry for that. But as far as everything else, like how to pull him out of it, what does he do in his off time? Is he just playing video games, fucking
He's
around?
smoking pot, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, because that's what I see. I just see like this
yep.
and
Um,
like a bong in a dark room.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's got a friend that lives with him, but or lives with us, but yeah, I mean, he really doesn't too much. He gets out a little, like he's as far as getting out, he gets out more than he used to. And like I said, with school, like he's a little more motivated sometimes.
Hmm.
But yeah, just loses his shit frequently. So
Yeah, so that's probably a lot to do with the pot. And the fact that he's probably not supposed to be smoking it if he has a lot of like,
mm-hmm.
it probably does chill him out. He feels very busy inside of his head, and I feel like that really frustrated your husband a lot because it's almost like he can't focus.
Oh
Can't
yeah.
focus. And I see him kind of like this, and your husband's like, just fucking listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that because my own son is like that. But the best advice I ever got was from another practitioner who was like, when you speak to him, you need to grab him by the face like this. And so I would do it just once and be like, hey, I need to talk to you. And as soon as he turns around, grab him by the face and be like, listen, I love you, but we got to work something out. And you can even approach it as like, I want to work out and I need somebody to help me stay motivated, be my motivated buddy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Start small, with like walks, just walks. And maybe nobody says anything on the fucking walk. But he needs to get out of that fucking room. And I would cleanse that room. I would cleanse the shit out of that room. Maybe I accidentally threw a couple bongs away or whatever away. But I would just say, it smells in here. I'm gonna clean it. But also I would cleanse it. I would sage it. I would spray some Florida water in there. I would get rid of all the bad because he's just holding on to it. He's holding on to it. Everything, 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 everything. And the friend is also like inhibiting a lot of those behaviors. And I can see that with whenever we pull the devil card, and that talks a lot about like addiction, addictive behaviors, keeping them chained to just things that are not great to them, and kind of standing in the way. And coupled with the tower and the eight of swords, it's almost like he doesn't really know where to go.
Hmm.
And so
Maybe,
he's just kind of trapped.
move the house, change the environment, the room's gone. Like, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I would do. I would start small just by talking to him, and each time you talk to him, and if he's like, "Why the fuck are you touching me?" It's just be like, "Because I want you to hear me." And I feel like unless I have your whole attention, you can't hear me. And break it down, make it real. Be like, "Hey, one day I'm gonna die, and then you're gonna be like, just here."
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to be really, really like uncomfortably real with people for them to hear you, especially whenever they're that he's really far down. Like he almost feels like you're like, I can't reach you almost just yet anymore. And I think that's the level of worry it feels like you're at right now,
Mm-hmm.
where he's going to slip too far, you can't reach him anymore. And then you're going to have a whole other set of worries. Um, and that's why I would focus on saying things like, and it's all going to come down to your language, like, hey, I want to focus on making this a safe, happier space for you. How can I do that? I never spend any time with you. And I would approach it to, like I didn't have kids just to raise a kid. I had kids because I wanted to parent every season. And you're still my kid. I still want to spend time with you. It's all in how you word it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to piss him off. And you're right, he does get so angry. And they talk about him needing to like, he doesn't really know how to be a dude. Like he doesn't know how to be a man and just stand up and take care of things. And he needs to relearn that. And that's going to be very intimidating for him because he's like, well, how do I learn that from my mom? And you have to teach him in a different way, a way that he relates to. I think therapy is going to be really, really good for him, but it's also gonna Father of Wands comes in, and it's also going to be like who is around the house. The father figure that's around the house is going to influence him the most. Um, So I would say even though he's like 19, anybody you bring to the house, he's going to be absorbing that energy. So that has to be like good for him in a way too.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Um, Ten of Pentacles comes in and a lot of pentacle energy here, a lot of earth element, a lot of grounding. Ten of Pentacles comes in and talks about like your hard work kind of paying off. Money coming to you and different relationships kind of not coming to a head in a bad way, but it's almost like we make peace. And I think, it looks like kind of the daughter and the son, like they need as much healing as you do. Because just like you experienced your husband, so did they. But I bet if you asked them about a specific memory, they'd each have a different answer about how it went down.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's gonna have to be like a journey that you guys do together. And I know your kids might be older, but even older kids still like to hear that, they're heard,
Mhm.
they're appreciated. Um, so I would start there and maybe like talking to each one of them one on one and being like, okay, we have to have a family meeting. Friend, you gotta go somewhere the fuck else, bro, or however you want to handle that.
Mhm.
Because Three of Swords comes in and just talks a lot about like lies, betrayal, deceit. Like whenever you start asking your son to make a lot of these changes, I think he might be like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then he's gonna have like very little follow through. So you need to be prepared for that. And it's gonna come down to how you word it because he might just be like, all right, well, I'm gonna split then. And that's ultimately not what you want. So I would say like different phrases like, hey, I'm not trying to like make you uncomfortable or make you feel like you're not welcome here, but you kind of need to get it together. Because
Yeah.
at
I
the end of the day, mommy ain't gonna be here forever.
Mhm.
And you've got to survive on your own 2 feet, whether you want to or not. And you have to kind of break it down on those real levels, but in a very peaceful way because what you're doing, if you do it the wrong way, it's going to come out like you're being a bitch. Like that's how he's going to take it. You're trying to run my life. You're trying to do this. You're trying to do. And we see it as moms, and that's fine. Um, Ultimately, I think it's going to take a few more years for him to get it together. Um,
But he will get it together.
I think so. Yes. Is he like bipolar or anything?
I think he is, but he hasn't officially been diagnosed just based on his age. And like he's got a new doctor who thinks it's more like autism. And I'm like, he might be slightly on the spectrum, but I definitely think he's got mood disorder.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is mood, a lot of it is diet related. They're showing me like gut health. We need to pay attention to our gut health. They are talking a little bit about like bipolar and getting on the right medication. Definitely the weed is not helping him. I don't know what he's buying or what he's getting, but that's definitely not like that's not fixing it. Um, and getting moving and doing things differently, like as far as like getting him in a different space, have your talks in the kitchen, have your talks out of the house. Um, he needs to get out in some form or capacity, even if that's just with you.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be hard to coax him into doing, but just be like, hey, like I
Yeah.
I need this and you need this, and we got to figure this out together, homie.
Yeah. Okay. I might set him up with an appointment with you and just he said he'd be open to it, sometime. So,
Yeah, go ahead. I've read for men before. Actually, it's really fun to read for them because they're a lot more intuitive than they give themselves credit for. And so then whenever I tell them all this stuff and they come back and they're like, "Oh my God, you were right."
you're like, I know. All right. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry. I wish I had more time and didn't have to hop off. I would have done the hour, but I've
Oh,
got
you're okay.
friends to
That's
hit.
why I'm here. I'm here. I'm available. It's okay. No worries. Let me know how everything goes, and I will get this meeting processed and sent to you for your copy.
Thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Have a good day.
You- Bye.